Every year, every business is impacted by storms, disasters, accidents, tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, you name it. These regional disasters are becoming part of everybody's annual planning cycles. It affects business, government, communities, and it just is part of reality today. Sometimes these result in disruptions that are just a day or two, sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's even longer. How do you prepare for these things? What can you do to protect you, your employees, and your customers by getting early warning and really knowing what's going on and what's going to happen in the future? This is the problem that 1StopOps was built to address. During these regional disasters, the big issue is that how do you coordinate? So for example, hurricane hits the East Coast. Immediately, you've got dozens of organizations that light up their systems and activities to coordinate to get businesses back to business and communities back to normal. It happens all the time. You got state and local government that light up the public safety to provide security. They cover the roads, the water system, and so forth. Then you got the private sector, the infrastructure owners and operators that can restore the power, get the fuel back in line, get the food stores open. Then you got the federal government that provides assistance to homeowners and people and businesses and coordinate. They have a big engine they move into place to coordinate and help the states and private sector. And then you've got the associations and solution providers that run all these systems and provide the policy and the process and the regulatory relief and all that stuff to make all this happen. How do you coordinate all this stuff? How do they share information to solve problems, to coordinate their actions? This is the challenge today, and it's been in place since Katrina. It's a big issue. It's very expensive, and it's very difficult to solve because you got cultures, you got systems, and you got processes that have been built separately that have to coordinate 3 or 4 times a year when these big regional events strike. So coordination across a region requires faster decision making. Today, decision makers in government and the private sector have tons of data. They have so much data locked on portals, they can't even figure it all out. As a matter of fact, they can't even remember their username and password half the time. But they have more than enough tools and systems, and there is no one tool or one system, because these decision makers have all kinds of things they have to address from a variety of topics that didn't exist 15, 20 years ago. So as a decision maker, how do you make sense of all this data? How do you organize it? How do you serve it up in a way that you can make faster decisions? Because that's what we hear. Decision makers need better, more organized information so they can make faster decisions and move on. This is why 1StopOps was created. So let me show you how it works. So you as an individual are vetted into the system and you get access to this dashboard. The dashboard is comprised of a number of different apps, all developed for a specific reason to solve a specific problem. So what powers that dashboard is a whole community of ongoing researchers, app development partners, technology partners, government agencies that are all working together for various purposes that feed information into the work groups that turn them into product. Those products are served through this dashboard, and it's a growing pool of available data and third-party apps. So they come from a variety of sources. Some of it's open source data, like the weather and storms and flooding and that kind of stuff. Some of it's government-provided data, like emergency declarations and waivers and roadway videos and toll roads and way stations, things like that. Then you've got operational data that generates unique stuff. Every storm generates unique data like that. And then you've got private sector data that you just can't buy. It's private, competitively sensitive, it's intellectual property sensitive. And so you can see the 2 green stripes across the bottom. You've got non-sensitive data, and then you've got sensitive data. And that's what the 1StopOps does, is protect that sensitive data through what they call the SICE, the Sensitive Information Sharing Environment, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So you can see very quickly it works just like an app store. The apps continue to grow. You get access to those as part of your base subscription service. So what's behind 1StopOps? Well, first are the organizations. This represents about 10% of the groups that have been working on this issue for many, many years. They've all come to the point where they're just tired of resolving the same problems over and over again, and so they just started to build 1StopOps to work off the same page. So many of these folks have been investors, have been contributors, have been attendees at meetings and workshops, provided input, and it's a fantastic effort because it's a fantastic group of people and organizations. So on top of that, you've got trusted relationships that have been built over the last several years between private sector and government. These relationships are very important because without them, there's no trust, there's no information. We also leverage investments. Over $18 million has been leveraged that's gone into1StopOps. The idea is to continue coordinating investments, not reinventing the wheel all the time, which happens many times. Then technologies of all different kinds are used in here, from identity vetting and management, cybersecurity products, trust frameworks. All kinds of things are used to bring the technology pieces together to make it simple. And then lastly is the sensitive information and the data, and that takes a trust framework. Everybody wants to go to a faster, more data-driven decision-making environment, but to do that, you've got to have processes and legal agreements and technology to make it all come together. And the sensitive information will flow, as we've seen, once it does. So sensitive information can include resource movement, availability of inventories, outages, disruptions, response plans. That stuff is sensitive. We don't want that getting out to the media or to non-operational users. So on top of that, you've got the SICE, the Sensitive Information Sharing Environment Trust Framework. The SICE provides the legal construct, the agreements, the policies, the processes, and procedures for all this to happen for the private sector to trust it. The center point of the SICE is a standardized policy, process, and legal agreement. So you don't have to have separate agreements between separate states and companies. You have one agreement. And if you want to share information in the SICE, there's one agreement to sign, and there's a process behind it, and it protects the information and allows just the right people to see the right information through a very unique architecture that's been borrowed from the defense industrial base, like Lockheed and Boeing and all these companies that work with the DoD. We used, working with one of their partners, the TSCP, we worked with them to develop this framework, and it really has been the hallmark of the whole thing. So on top of the SICE, you've got now a piece of technology called the SICE dashboard. This is customized to the user. It allows you to have the apps, just the apps you've qualified for, to be on your screen, and you can use them when each app is developed for a specific reason. And then on top of that, you've got an app that we kind of use every day called the Daily Disaster Dashboard. The product's called GeoCollaborate. It was a $5 million investment from NOAA through a company called Storm Center. And it meets the bill for us. We needed a tool that was cloud-based, that wouldn't require any upgrades of any systems, that could merge data in any format from any source at any time, and provide one common operating environment visually for decision makers to look at. So on this screen, you're seeing the weather, you're seeing ice. The blue is ice warnings. The green states are states where fleets are moving through to get to the red states who have declared declaration, and the purple states have issued waivers. If you click on the red state, for example, you'll get access to the documents. So this combines a lot of information, public and private, sensitive and non-sensitive, into one screen, and that's one of our key apps, is the Daily Disaster Dashboard. We'll talk about that in a minute. So what's the catch? Why are we outreaching to you all? Well, leverage. Leverage is key. The more users, the more use cases. The more use cases, the more problems we solve. It's just that simple. And when you have more problems, you need more information and more data. With that, you can create more apps and solutions. You can increase disaster coordination, which is the name of the game. The faster we get you back in business, the better the communities and everybody are. We return everything back to normal as quickly as possible. That's one of the goals here. We work on community resilience, right? Getting your employees back in their homes, kids back in school, businesses back open. And most importantly, we save time and save lives, as has been proven over the last several years. When you get the electricity and the critical infrastructure back up and running faster, the stores open and people relax. It's just that simple. So our outreach to you is, the more people are involved in OneStopOps, the more powerful it becomes. It's a wonderful, wonderful business case. So let's talk about some examples of some of the apps that have been developed over the years. Each one of these apps was built for a specific reason to solve a specific problem. This is done through working groups. This is done through working with nonprofit and trade groups, private sector companies. But every one of these solves a specific purpose. So you can click on it and boom, you'll be able to get information and make a decision in 30 seconds. So it's all centered around this app store, right? OneStopOps brings this all together to quickly centralize information for you to locate people, get better decisions made, faster, quicker response to disasters, supporting planning, logistics, and all the things that go on before, during, and after a disaster. So it has some unique operational apps. We'll list the top 3 right here that come in a basic package. So the first one is the Daily Disaster Dashboard. I mentioned that to you. That's a way that a number of organizations can all watch the same thing at the same time. Currently it tracks information like weather, storms, flooding, transportation-related stuff, private sector fleet movement, and so forth. The next app is our Storm Central app. which centralizes key disaster declaration documents for the private sector. Very important for people that need those disaster declarations, guidance during storms and events, reentry procedures, all that stuff. So we centralize all that information from the states in one webpage called Storm Central. And the third one is called Road Central. Right now it's in phase 1, and it basically connects all the 511 sites into one place. Additionally, all the sites that aren't 511 sites are there. So if you need information on roads or road conditions anywhere in the U.S., Road Central can get it to you with a click of a button. Fantastic app. We've been working very closely with federal DOT, with the states, and future versions of that will overlay road conditions and live traffic data, weather, available hotels, what gas stations are open along this route. Lots of potential for that app to grow. Another unique product are these operational guides that they speed up processes. The first one created right after Sandy, where we had lots of delays at toll stations. And we used this to create a guide that really reduced the delays at toll stations and offered some unique financial benefits, which we'll talk about in a minute. The second one is this Fleet Movement Coordination Guide, which helps you move assets across state lines. You need to understand this process and how you can benefit from it. It was written by the electric sector, but it can be used by any sector that has fleets that go across state lines or vehicles of any kind. Another app is crossing the U.S.-Canadian border. This has been a big problem over many years for many storms, and this is a process that was put together by the electric sector and DHS, FEMA, and the Canadian transportation people, and it'll show you how to cross the border in record time. Then the last one we have is Utility Liaison Officer, which was a guidebook produced by 4 states and 4 companies to better manage expectations of these private sector people in government emergency operations centers. Then for all of our offerings, we have member services, which provide online technical support, provide you with email alerts, member discounts on products, services, and events, and of course access to member webinars and events we conduct. And the nice part is unlimited free updates to the web portal, the apps, and also any free apps that are made available. Most of the apps are free as part of your subscription. Every now and then we'll have a premium app, which is an extra price, but for the most part, the apps that'll be added every month, every quarter, every year are going to be free, and they'll just be included in your base subscription at no additional cost. 1StopOps offers a virtual Tier 1 help desk that provides you simple alerts, email updates, serves as a liaison with the states, helps resolve transportation issues, which we do quite often during storms. We maintain member directories for you to get access to people very quickly. It's a very nice package. For more advanced users, we offer a Tier 2 help desk where we actually provide staff from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and they monitor all kinds of information, including incidents. They sit on phone calls with the feds and the states and provide summary information back. We crowdsource a lot of information to validate data. So when somebody tells us something's happened, we validate across a crowd of folks very quickly. And then we produce after-action reports sometimes, and more importantly, we produce products out of these storms. Every storm produces an idea for a product or two that we turn into an app. Every one of these apps has been produced basically because of a disaster. Another new offering is access to our new data set libraries. So this is for a little more advanced user, but we are building a federal data set library, working with a number of federal agencies. We're mining data sets to build specific apps for the private and public sector, and we provide updates to that data set library periodically. Another library we're building is the Emergency Resource Library, which we'll talk about in a second, which basically is assembling everything you need for a disaster. Generators, ice, dry ice, providers of this or that. You'll see we get into a little detail. Here we show you what's currently available in the Emergency Resource Library as far as data sets, what's currently in development, and then what's on the future planning. That is only about half of what's in the future planning for that. But anyway, these data sets will be available to you as part of your subscription service if you select it. Then we have a premium app called Fleet Open Close. This provides real-time open status of over 250,000 locations for fuel, food, and hotel locations. It's provided to us through a partnership of Hughes Network Systems, a major global satellite company that provides back office connections for their cash registers, internet TV, and internet access. They represent about 70% of some of the markets out there for hotel, gas station, food, convenience stores, and pharmacies. You can see the names of some of the participating companies that are on there. That's not all of them. It's only about a third of the people that we get access to. But it gives you live information. So when you have people moving into an impacted area, they know where there's food. They know where they can find a hotel. We've been using this quite often since Hurricane Sandy when it was first developed. Another premium app is called Fleet Move. This centralizes hundreds of websites and provides you a centralized resource for planning information about almost anything at the state level. Saves you time and reduces delays. So it's really a transportation app. It provides a national directory of online information, toll and weigh stations, permitting processes, state DOT resources and regulations, road conditions, live closures and things like that, much more. Great app. It combines 3 or 4 apps into one. So this is a premium app, but is available in some of the higher level packages. And then we conduct a virtual exercise. Part of our ongoing annual planning and exercise, we conduct a virtual email-based drill. So CADEX is designed to engage stakeholders from around the country in regional email-based multi-state exercises with multiple sectors. And so what it does, it allows us to test, to validate, and allows us to get ideas and create opportunities for new creations, for new products. It's fantastic. We've been doing it for 4 years now, since 2013. It has really produced a wonderful array of new solutions. And what are the results? It improves information sharing and decision making. Something new is we will offer a 1.5-day One-Stop-Op Users Group Summit. This is to bring our One-Stop-Op members together to talk about what can we make better, some of the opportunities to work together, learn how other people are using their apps, look at new issues, new solutions, new products, and most importantly, network with people in industry and government that are already One-Stop-Ops users. For the more advanced users, we're going to offer a cross-sector, data-driven decision-making workshop. This will be a full 2-day in-person cross-sector workshop. We will use this as an opportunity to get into specific problems, decide which problems are going to be addressed, decide how on the priority of how we're going to do that, and we're going to participate in spotlight sessions where you can bring a problem to the table and the participants will all work together to give you ideas on how to solve it. We've done this in the past. It's been phenomenally successful. These workshops will be limited to about 20 people. In the ones we've done in the past, they've just been fantastic. So this will be off as a service for this year. And then we've been approached by some organizations that need custom data set development. Okay, they have a specific problem. They'd like to use us to marshal the data, package the information, and create the app for them. The big idea is to help increase your situational awareness that you can use for planning, response, and recovery certain information. And it basically saves you time in trying to solve all this by yourself. You get access to some of the regional planning and virtual exercise activity that we conduct through our One-Stop-Ops network. You can see this is a great planning resource in the blue sky days, but it builds those relationships that we can use during disaster times. Also, if you become a member of the user group, you get access to some of the working group products and services, and you can serve on some of the working groups in one of the higher level packages. This is a great opportunity to network with people from around the country and get to know more in detail how you can benefit from all their activities and accomplishments. So what's the annual cost and the subscription plans for the service, okay? What's included with each package? So let's jump into that real quick. There are 3 individual plans for 2017. We don't offer enterprise plans because we vet individual identities within the One-Stop-Ops SICE network. The reason we do that is the private sector wants to know who is looking at their data, not what organization is looking at their data. That's why we use individual plans. So the first one is called Professional. It's basically, it allows access to basic information and some apps and products, but it's all virtual, right? You're not going to be meeting with people. This is just kind of, you want information brought to you at your desk. The Premium package, designed for a little more sophisticated user, you get full access to the apps and information. You get access to all the informational guides and things like that, and you get access to a virtual help desk. The Advanced package is really designed for the more advanced users that are going to be involved and want to get more involved in the decision making and the process behind One-Stop-Ops. It includes working groups, planning exercises, user summits, and things like that. So let's talk about what's inside the Pro package. So first, you get access to the dashboard. The price you see here are as if somebody bought these individually. This is what they would sell for today individually, as we've done in the past. So you get access to 3 of our most popular apps. You'll get access to the operational guides that we produce now, plus a couple of ones being planned. You get unlimited software updates and free apps that are produced for the lifetime of your subscription. And you get access to member services. The value of that package is about $4,800 a year. So let's look inside the Premium package. It builds on top of the Professional package, but in addition to that, it offers you Tier 1 help desk. So this allows you email-based alerts, operational emails that we issue when we activate, and a directory access to working groups and so forth. It offers you unlimited access to the data sets in the federal government data set library and in the emergency resource library. So as we get information, we don't charge you for that. It's just put into your library and you get access to it as part of your subscription. You get access to 2 premium apps, the Fleet Open Closed app, as we talked about, and the Fleet Move app, as we discussed. And you get to participate in the annual CADX exercise. So the value of this package is about $13,500 a year. Let's go to the advanced package. So the advanced package builds on top of the premium package, but offers you unlimited access to our regional exercises and planning, our working group products and services. You're invited to participate in the 1StopOps User Summit, which we will hold at least once a year. And then you get access to the Tier 2 live help desk, where you actually can get hold of people. And those folks are going to provide disaster information, monitoring of events. They sit on conference calls that the feds and states hold and provide information back to you as needed. The value of this package is about $22,000 a year, but there's lots of people involved in this package that work with you as a result of that. So let's talk about the incentive plan here for 2017. How's the working group approaching this? Well, for the 3 packages, if they were all purchased separately, the prices are listed there. That's not what we're going to talk to you about today. So when these are bundled later in the year, prices are going to be offered for a special price, reduced to about 50% roughly, and that's to spur membership as we get started. But that's not what we're going to talk to you about today. So today we're going to talk to you about a special offer that's being underwritten because of federal and private sector. So there's a special offer underway right now through the end of this quarter, where significant discounts are going to be offered as part of this bundle to individuals that want to get started with it today. So to summarize, the professional, premium, and advanced packages are available at these annual costs, and they're billed a little differently. The professional version is billed at monthly, and the premium and advanced versions are billed annually. But the monthly costs are listed here for budgeting purposes. So the real incentive today is they're looking at offering the premium and advanced packages at a significant discount. The premium package is going to be offered at $100 a month, the same price as the professional package. And the advanced package is going to be offered not at $500 a month, but at $300 a month. This represents roughly a 66% discount, and it's good through the end of the month. And we're offering this because we have underwriters that are helping to bolster usage of this as we get started. So we encourage everybody to take advantage of this while it's still offered. As always, there's a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If there's something you don't like, you send us an email. We stop billing your credit card. There's no long-term contracts or commitments. So let's talk about cost justification. We've spent a lot of time working on these cost justification models, and it's really kind of interesting. So if you have fleets that move across state lines, if you're in the electric sector, telecom, food, fuel, this is an issue because these fleets cost money to move. So the first column here shows you the number of vehicles that are moving across state lines per year. The second column is the annual cost for a 1-hour delay for those vehicles. And this is based on a 2,000-day operating cost from the electric sector with 2 people on board a utility vehicle. It may change depending on the sector. But you can see 10 vehicles, if they're delayed 1 hour during the year, it costs $2,000 just for a 1-hour delay any time of those 10 vehicles during the year. Well, you can see the third column talks about the fixed cost for a 1StopOps subscription. So basically, 1StopOps will pay for itself the first time you use it if you experience any delays at all because of state documentation, you're waiting for this or that, you're pulling over, or other coordination issues. So it's extremely cost effective. It's been designed that way. And we want people to realize the ROI on this the first time they use it. So that's one cost justification model. The second one is toll station delays. So we're just going to look at the operating cost. If you have 50 vehicles with transponders, it roughly costs about $5,000 a year, or $25 a vehicle for each transponder. Well, we found a way working with our EasyPass operational guide where if you're using these for emergency vehicles, you can eliminate that transponder cost. So in our model, let's suppose after you use our guide, you can reduce and operate all 50 vehicles under a single transponder, which reduces your cost from $5,000 a year to $50 a year. What that means is, if we just show you how to use that guide, if you have 24 vehicles, you paid for it once. right? It's fantastic. And then all your vehicles can use the fast lanes if you follow the guidelines and you use it for disaster response purposes and emergency response purposes and not trying to bypass using it for day-to-day purposes. It's all spelled out in the guide. But anyway, this is really a no-brainer. We had one company, had about 1,100 vehicles. They were spending about $50,000 a year in fees. They moved a big portion of that, and they cut those costs to well under a couple of $1,000s. So it was immediate payback, and that's exactly what it's designed for. More importantly, they got to move their trucks faster through the Easy Pass region because they could use the fast lanes legally. So what are people saying about this? Well, over the years, we've had dozens and dozens and dozens of people write us and compliment the Fleet Working Group, the EC3 Working Group, the states on how they've been working together. Probably the most significant one was after Sandy. I was driving home from Washington and my car phone rang, and I answered it and someone said, "Please hold for Secretary Napolitano." I thought it was a joke. And sure enough, on came the voice. "Hi, Tom, this is Janet Napolitano." I was like, "Really? Okay, what do I call you?" And she said, "Just call me Janet." She goes, "Hey, Tom, I wanted to call and tell you about the open close she was talking about. wanted to tell you and thank you and the consortium and the states and the private sector partners for putting that program together that allowed us to follow the power outages during Sandy." She said, "By the way, how did you do that legally?" She goes, "That would have taken us 2 years within the federal government." And she goes, "I was amazed at how quickly you guys were able to do that. It was probably one of the most unique creative services that I've ever seen. And the fact that you guys could develop it within a day was really impressive." Well, we didn't really develop it in a day. We spent years building the trusted relationship. And when duty called, we were able to get and work with Hughes Satellite or Hughes Network System to produce that app, as we've done many times. So you can see this is a huge network of people that have relied on this, that trust the brand, and you're getting a chance to hear about it and take advantage of it if this is your first time. So from the practical standpoint, recently, in late 2016, Hurricane Matthew hit the East Coast. And you had dozens of organizations. You had FEMA regions and headquarters. You had multiple states. You had multiple sectors. You had DHS infrastructure protection. You had DHS. You had other DHS factions. Everybody was working together. So stakeholders work together to expedite power restoration, monitor flooding and winds, monitor the closed bridges. How do we get re-entry procedures? Where is their hotel and lodging? How do we find out information about drones? Where can we locate open and closed status? And dozens of other pieces of information. Some worked by members of the consortium and the Fleet Working Group. Some worked on other organizations. But all this information was managed by different groups, but we also watched it from afar and brought it into our world as well. So in one place, our members could watch this happen and get the latest, greatest information. That's data-driven decision-making. It's all designed to leverage other people's efforts, their information, their investments, bring it together in a single place, create simple one-button apps to help improve decision-making, situation awareness, and bring a common operating picture to help people as they go through their response efforts, but also support them in the blue sky days when they're just doing planning and exercises. And if you're ready to get started, just click on the link below. You'll be taken to a website where you can fill out a form, use your credit card, you can get access to it immediately today. If you need an invoice, you can send us an email. We'd be glad to send you that as well. So we hope this information was helpful, and we look forward to working with you. Go ahead and click the button, and we'll see you on the other side. To sum it all up, what can OneStopOps do for you? First, it gives you one place. It aggregates everything into a single place. Now, the data's not all in one place. The data may be on 20 different places like that, but we aggregate for you because this is what the private sector wants to accomplish. So today, you can tap into over 100 organizations that have been working this problem, building the legal, policy, technology, process framework that makes all this happen. It didn't take a dime investment from you, but you can leverage over $18 million worth of investment of these organizations. It will give you reliable information. There's a whole process behind here that helps you get reliable information from reliable sources, not blogs, not tweets, not social media posts, not rumors. We vet and validate all the data sources that are bringing in. We even have an operational readiness level model, which ranks 1 to 4. And data at level 1 is ready to go and meets a lot of criteria. It's updated, it's managed, it's backed up, versus a 4, which is just it's just newly early stage research and it's not ready yet. But you can get reliable information from OneStopOps. 30-second decisions. Every app we make, we try to build into the fact we organize the data so you can make a decision in 30 seconds. If my wife and I want to go see a movie, we open up the Fandango app. I push one button, and in 30 seconds, I can find a theater, a movie, a time, and other information and make a decision with the push of one button. And Fandango aggregates federal data, private sector, GPS data, time, movie times, all that stuff into one app, and boom. And that's what we're moving to, is 30-second decisions. How to get across the Canadian border faster. How do we do damage assessment better after a fire? How do we track earthquake movement and predictions? All that stuff needs to be simplified and aggregated. So these 30-second decision apps is where this whole thing is headed. And today we have about 15, and we'll be thousands over the next couple of years because of our partnerships and because we have people that have been working this issue for a long time, so you don't have to. The other thing is government and industry supported. I mentioned to you before that this is supported with Department of Homeland Security's infrastructure protection. This is exactly what they want to do, is build products that the private sector can then take over and run and sustain that help the critical infrastructure, help get business back to business. DHS Science and Technology is a big supporter. They help start the whole cyber identity management piece of how we vet people, right? FEMA is a big supporter. They provide millions of dollars to states for planning for disasters, and so we've leveraged a lot of that and included the private sector. The trade associations, the companies have invested big in this because it costs them a lot of money. They're trying to do the right thing, and this helps simplify and build a bridge between them and government at the operational level, which is very difficult to do for a trade association that's typically focused on policy. So it leverages other people's time and money and resource. You can sit at your desk and get data you didn't have to do anything for because someone else did it. And that's a wonderful thing. And for $100 a month, you can get access to information that comes right at you. And it really leverages your time across others. Ongoing access. This service over time improves, your cost stays the same. You get new apps, you get new data sets. If you're on basic plan or advanced plan or the premium plan, it just continues to go, and you have ongoing access to that, especially as one of our early users. Unlimited updates. Every time we update an app, we update the service, you're going to get that at no cost for the free apps. For the premium apps, it's not, but there's not that many of those. So unlimited updates to the services and the apps, which is great. Access to new apps. As I mentioned before, we're looking to develop at least one a month. So that's a rapid pace, but we've got over 100 on the drawing board. Avoid major disruptions. Using1StopOps, you will be able to avoid not just major disruptions for yourself, but for your customers. Imagine being able to tell your customers, hey, I know something and I want to tell you about it. How does that make your customer feel about you? How about protecting your supply chain, the people that provide you supplies and fuel and goods, helping them be better prepared, because we're all interdependent here. So avoiding these major delays and risks is really important, not just to you and your company, but to your employees and your customers as well. Recover faster. This is so important. When you do get taken out, or your supply chain gets taken out, how do you get back in business in one day versus getting back in a week? This information can help you build strategies that avoid these disruptions, and you can recover faster, and you can help your customers recover faster too. Your community. Your employees live in communities that all require goods and services and power and things like that, and this helps your community become more resilient because you become more resilient and other users of the service become more resilient. This is a big push behind this, is how do we work together as one whole of community to work together to bring our communities back quicker after some disaster? How do we coordinate and communicate better? This is really critical when these regional events hit. By using the apps in 1StopOps, you're going to get access to information and technology that you just can't get anywhere else, that can hold you in communication and coordination with a bunch of other organizations and states to help respond better. Unity of effort, that's really the bottom line of what this develops. It gets multiple state agencies, multiple companies all on the same page to coordinate efforts going forward. That's a big outcome. And all this happens because hundreds and hundreds of organizations have invested time and energy that you can leverage just by participating as a subscriber to 1StopOps. And if you're ready to get started, just click on the link below. You'll be taken to a website where you can fill out a form, use your credit card, you can get access to it immediately today. If you need an invoice, you can send us an email. We'd be glad to send you that as well. So we hope this information was helpful, and we look forward to working with you. Go ahead and click the button, and we'll see you on the other side. So over the last several years, we've run into a lot of questions. And so for some of you that may want to do this, you have some questions, a couple of reservations. Let's jump into some of the most asked questions that we've faced over the years. So the first question, and we get this a lot, are you selling government data? No, government data most of the time is public open source data. What the service does is provide the labor and the expertise to first identify a problem you are facing in the private sector or states, write that up as a use case, turn it over to the data researchers, the universities, the individuals that do research, have them go mine and find the data, and then we package it, format it with them, and serve it up into a simple app that you can use. Okay, let me give you an example. We had a problem with flooding. The private sector wants to know about flood data. So initial research, we found out there were 7,500 plus data sets on flooding. Well, which one is it do you need? That's what takes the work. And that's what the service charges for. The data is free. It's the work to find it, format it, package it, and serve it up into a simple one place is what you're paying for. It's the aggregation of that data and putting it in a usable format. That's what you're paying for. It's not the data. Most of the data is open source and free. We can give you the web link and you can do the work and find it yourself if you want. But most people don't want to do that. They just want it done for them and they want to get the app and move on. And that's why we put a service behind this. Why is there no enterprise offer? Because the whole purpose of this is to work on identity management. And we vet individuals, not agencies. Now, that can be done, but it takes a whole lot more investment and a whole lot more complexity to do that. So today, we just offer enterprise. We don't offer enterprise licenses. We offer individual licenses, but we do offer discounts if people want to buy, a dozen of them or 2 dozen of them or whatever. Who validates the IDs of people? Well, we have a process. There's an online application people fill out. That's sent into a committee who validates. You have a valid ID, you have a valid email, you've agreed, you've signed the contract, terms and conditions for confidentiality, you got a valid cell phone, and then you have a sponsor. You're tied to somebody who will vouch for you, either directly or indirectly. And then you're granted access, right? Every time you log in, you have to use your email, a password, which it remembers, but you're sent a text on your cell phone, so you have to put in the text every time you log in. So it's really two-factor authentication, and that's how we validate your identity each time you log in. There are higher levels of that. We certainly have used them in the past, but they require more expensive processes and cards and so forth, and we just don't have data ready to... We don't have the need to do that just yet, but over time we probably will. Will this address higher levels of security? Yes, eventually we'll get into higher levels, but I don't see this handling top secret or that level of security. Most of the stuff we're working on is really going to be sensitive, meaning it's politically sensitive, it's operationally sensitive, intellectual property sensitive, competitive sensitive. It's not super secret information. How do I get an app involved? How do I get an app or an app idea together? Well, first become a member, right? Become a subscriber to 1StopOps and then participate in our user groups. That's where we do this. We look at new apps all the time and we evaluate them as a group as part of our annual or semi-annual user group meetings. That's the best way to do it. Or in some of the higher level subscriptions, you can actually get involved in some of the work groups, put a lot of energy into developing new apps and reviewing new app ideas. How do I submit an idea for an app or a problem I want to have addressed? Well, that is usually going to be your advanced subscription level, and we get our higher level, more experienced people together twice a year, at least once a year, at our cross-sector workshop. And that's where we look at ideas and vet them. We've done that several times already, and it's been very exciting to do it. So if you do have an idea, I'd invite you to become an advanced subscriber and become part of that effort. We get asked all the time, is this legal? Yes. Here's how this works legally. The All Hazards Consortium is the nonprofit organization behind 1StopOps. It's a 10-year-old state-sanctioned 501c3 nonprofit incorporated in Maryland. As with every nonprofit, it can offer services to its members. So with every subscription is a free membership into the All Hazards Consortium, right? That's what we're allowed to do. We're not allowed to sell this to non-members. That would be a commercial offering and be competing with the private sector, which we're not allowed to do. So, yes, it is legal. And there's another benefit a lot of people aren't aware. One of the big challenges facing the federal government is they spend a lot of money in research. And universities and nonprofits get a lot of funding from the federal government and to build a widget, to build a solution, to build data, to whatever. And there's a big gap between the laboratory and the field. And what we do and what this service does is actually take data sets with federal contractors, researchers, and so forth, and brings it right out into the field to be analyzed by the people that will actually buy it. not the ones who will sell it. It's the ones who buy it. So when we have a product that we think would help with damage assessment, let's say NASA has high-resolution satellite imagery that the utilities would consider using for damage assessments after a storm. We take that data in the provider and we meet right with Con Edison of New York and Pepco and Florida Power and Light, right with the direct operators that can give direct feedback to the federal government. It's very important, and we modify products all the time. If you remember, we talked about that dashboard, the daily dashboard. When that product was originally introduced to us, it was kind of a large webinar where you had to get on a phone call and go, and everybody shared the same screen. And the private sector saw that and said, hey, that's really great data sharing, but we don't want more phone calls and more webinars. Can you make a daily dashboard that we can just turn on in the morning and monitor as we go? And so they took that feedback back to the federal government. The federal government approved it, and about 2 weeks later, they had a daily dashboard. So the feedback from the private sector is a huge value to the federal government, who's looking for ways to get their products, get their research out into the field. It's called transition to practice, right? So you're moving it from the lab out into the field. And this is not only legal, it's a valuable service the federal government loves, and that's why one of the reasons they support this. How will it scale? Well, scaling is a function of technology, one, policies, and process. So right now we can handle up to about maybe 10,000, 20,000 users. Beyond that, we'll just upgrade our capabilities. So it should be able to scale with no problem. Adding more sectors and more use cases is not an issue. And our tech partners take care of that all the time, and we work with some big ones. So it shouldn't be an issue for scaling at all. Will this compete with private sector offers? No, we're not allowed to do that as a nonprofit. What we try to do is create unique things that you can only create if you work together with government and industry at the same time. So we get this asked quite a bit. We actually partner with a lot of people that create products that sell, and we become a data provider to those products and enhance those products, or they become a supplier to us. So no, we won't compete with the private sector. If we do compete, then we find ways to deconflict that. So these are the top questions we get. We get a lot of other minor ones, but we wanted to cover this. So some of you that may be on the fence, you need to get some questions answered. So we hope this answers your questions. And if you're ready to get started, just click on the link below. You'll be taken to a website where you can fill out a form, use your credit card, you can get access to it immediately today. If you need an invoice, you can send us an email. We'd be glad to send you that as well. So we hope this information was helpful, and we look forward to working with you. Go ahead and click the button, and we'll see you on the other side. So if you're still deciding, you may have a question about how will this expand to other sectors, topics, and disciplines that maybe I'm involved in that I didn't really see how this relates to me. So today, in 2017, we're releasing 1StopOps, and it's really focused on disaster management. Anything to do with disaster planning, response, recovery. That covers private sector, public sector, law enforcement, emergency management, transportation. That covers logistics, business continuity, insurance, finance. All of those require information sharing, and it's always public-private. Those are the products we look at producing that can be for the public-private benefit. Okay? So that's today. On top of that, the private sector would like to move into the intel and threat side of this. How do we share sensitive information, public to private and private to public, on the threat and intel? Now, there's a lot of organizations that do this and do this very well. What we're looking to do is to bridge a gap that the private sector sees. And we've had several meetings with fusion centers over the past year to look at this. So they're going to explore ways right now that can have the private sector share more sensitive information with police. They get sensitive information from police and law enforcement, but giving it is always difficult. Some sectors do it well, some don't do it very well because of concerns of legal issues and leaks and things like that. So the second phase of this, we're going to start looking at threats and intel information. Next will be cyber. Now, there's a lot of people working the cyber area, but one of the areas the members of the consortium are looking at is on the communication side. If there is an incident, how do we communicate with each other? How do we not cause a panic? How do we coordinate better, public and private? How do we develop protocols to share information? Maybe not details, but certainly alerting each other more so than we're getting today. Right, today it works, but there's a lot of issues that the private sector would like to improve upon. So having a sensitive information sharing network that they run is something they want to look at leveraging. Then moving into health and medical. Again, this is another big area. Lots of groups are doing pieces of this. We're looking to fill those gaps that only can be done with both public and private working together. And then a whole business-to-business piece. You know, the electric sector, for example, is very dependent upon telecommunications sector, water sector, transportation sector, and fuel. So there's a lot of applications that need to be developed for those sectors to share with each other, right? And I could spend a whole nother hour talking about some of those apps, but that's another piece they want to build on top of this. And then there's these sector-specific issues within the food or water or retail sector where sensitive information would like to be shared, but there's no framework to do it. And so that's what they're looking at here. So there's a whole strategy available that's coming on right now. We're starting with disaster management, but you can see here in the timeline that's been proposed, this is where we will probably be looking at each year moving into a different segment. And if you're ready to get started, just click on the link below. You'll be taken to a website where you can fill out a form, use your credit card, you can get access to it immediately today. If you need an invoice, you can send us an email. We'd be glad to send you that as well. So we hope this information was helpful, and we look forward to working with you. Go ahead and click the button, and we'll see you on the other side.